Okay, so Dharma talk of this February 2017 retreat. I didn't really prepare a talk. I always say that because I never do. And I've been thinking about the theme of usually I shouldn't say spiritual teachers because not all spiritual teachers do that, but at least Buddhist teachers, they often, most of the time, maybe I should say, talk on some classic texts or classic passages of texts. They base their talks on some classic instructions. And I've been thinking about this myself, and I don't really hear a click when I think about that. I mean, I don't hear a click about it 100% because I don't want to talk on classic texts every time I talk. I often speak about just my casual thoughts about practice, my experiences and experiences of Sangha members. I talk about open heart work, our method, and things related to that. But nevertheless, recently I've felt I started my path with Zen Buddhism and did it for about 4 years with white knuckles, and I've somehow felt that going back to some of that Zen Buddhist expression, because Zen Buddhism really has a distinctive expression to it. So here is a classic text from Zen-master Hakuin. Hakuin is a very famous Zen master who lived in Japan 300-400 years ago, and he was the guy who really invigorated Zen in Japan again. Zen Buddhism, it has 3 schools in Japan, I think 5 in China, and it came from China to Japan in 12th century. So it had been in Japan for about 500-600 years when it had already lost a lot of its juice somehow. And then Zen-master Hakuin came about, and he's a very interesting character, was a really ardent practitioner in his youth, but then he had an awakening. In Zen tradition they call it Kensho. Kensho means literally seeing to one's true nature. That's the same as awakening. I use the word awakening, and several of you have had awakening. That's the same thing, Kensho. And so yes, he had a Kensho when he was about 20 years old. He had been a monk for a couple of years. And then in his autobiography he says that he had 18 Kenshos in his spiritual path. He lived up to be 80 something years old. So he practiced 60 years, something like that. And in his autobiography he said that he had 18 Kenshos. And to me, when I learned about the Bumis, an open heart Bumi model, it's clear that He didn't have the same kensho, the same awakening again and again and again. There was a deepening in his state of being, state of awareness in his mind. And to me it's obvious that he's talking about bhumi openings, even though he never mentions bhumis. But he must have known of bhumis, because bhumis are a part of the Mahayana Buddhist teaching. Even though Mahayana Buddhism and Vajrayana Buddhism talks about bhumis, they don't really use it as a practical means like we do. So yeah, here's Hakuin Zenji. Zenji means like a Zen monk or Zen master. Hakuin Zenji's Song of Zazen. Zen meditation is called Zazen. Z-A-Z-E-N. Zazen. And it literally means sitting meditation. But what it actually means is atiyoga. And this is Hakuin's Song of Zazen. The name of this text in Japanese is Hakuin Zenji Zazen Wasan. So here it goes. It's not long. All sentient beings are essentially Buddhas. As with water and ice, there is no ice without water. Apart from sentient beings, there are no Buddhas. Not knowing how close the truth is, we seek it far away. What a pity! We are like one who in the midst of water cries out desperately in thirst. We are like the son of a rich man who wandered away among the poor. The reason we transmigrate through the 6 realms is because we are lost in the darkness of ignorance. Going further and further astray in the darkness, how can we ever be free from birth and death? As for the Mahayana practice of Zazen, there are no words to praise it fully. The 6 paramitas, perfections, such as giving, maintaining the precepts, and various other good deeds like invoking the Buddha's name, repentance, and other spiritual training, all finally return to the practice of Zazen. Even those who have sat Zazen only once will see all karma erased. Nowhere will they find evil paths, and the Pure Land will not be far away. If we listen even once with open heart to this truth, then praise it and gladly embrace it. How much more so then, if on reflecting within ourselves we directly realize self-nature, giving proof to the truth that self-nature is no nature. We will have gone far beyond idle speculation. The gate of the oneness of cause and effect is thereby opened, and not 2, not 3, straight ahead runs the way. Realizing the form of no form as form, whether going or returning, we cannot be any place else. Realizing the thought of no thought as thought, whether singing or dancing, we are the voice of the Dharma. How vast and wide the unobstructed sky of Samadhi. How bright and clear the perfect moonlight of the fourfold wisdom. At this moment, what more need we seek? As the eternal tranquility of truth reveals itself to us, this very place is the land of lotuses, and this very body is the body of the Buddha. There is one theme that comes up in this Hakuin's song several times, and that is the futility of seeking. That there's no point seeking. Why do you seek? He says that all sentient beings are essentially Buddhas. As with water and ice, there is no ice without water. Apart from sentient beings, there are no Buddhas. Not knowing how close the truth is, we seek it far away. We are like one who in the midst of water cries out desperately in thirst. We are like the son of a rich man who is wandering among the poor, not realizing that he is a rich man himself. You know, seeking. And he's also talking about, so one is futility of seeking. There's something wrong with seeking. Don't seek. Stop seeking. And then he's talking about Zazen, which is Ati Yoga. He's talking about that. I wouldn't say practice, but I will just, for the sake of this talk, I will say Ati Yoga practice or Zazen practice. He's talking about the profoundness of this Zazen, this true sitting meditation. And he even a bit exaggerates when he says that even those who have sat Zazen only once will see all karma erased. A bit of pitch talk there, like a salesman. Pitch talk of a salesman. But what actually happens in Kensho, in awakening, is that is a moment of seeing one's true nature. That moment of awakening is Zazen or Ati Yoga. Right? That leaves, he says that those who have sat Zazen only once will see all karma erased. He kind of says it in a final tone to how he says that. But as you know, awakening is a shift, irreversible shift. So in that sense, at least some of that karma, that subject sense of meanness, that karma is erased. Nowhere will they find evil paths, and the pure land will not be far away. So here he gives a little bit. First he says that we'll see all karma erased, and then he says that the pure land will not be far away. So he says that he admits that there's still some distance, but it's not far away. And that's how it is, isn't it? Because awakening, it is a irreversible shift, something permanent takes place there, a permanent shift, and then it is way more easier to find or recognize this state of awareness than before awakening. So the pure land is not far away anymore. And he's talking about then he's talking about if we listen even once with open heart to this truth, then praise it and gladly embrace it. He's talking about reflecting to this truth and then realizing firsthand that our selfness, me-ness, is really selflessness, me-lessness. First, hearing a teaching about it, that, about self-delusion, what it means, and how this self-delusion can be transformed or realized. This self-nature can be realized being no nature, no self. No self, or like I call it selflessness, is a basic, like the basic foundation of Buddhism, all Buddha Dharma. So that's what he's talking about. And he's talking about finding out for yourself the whole time. He's saying that it's, futile to seek, and that it's a pity that there is this seeking, and that it's a pity that there's this transmigration, this samsara, being born and dying, and being born and dying, going through these states and experiences again and again and again. He's talking about transmigrating through the 6 realms. 6 realms is like a 6 worlds. It's a basic thing that Buddhism talks about. Some of those 6, I don't know if I remember all 6, but it's like the world of animals, world of humans, world of mighty beings, world of hungry ghosts, world of devas, like light beings, that's 5.
Gods, isn't it?
But gods is mighty beings. So I might have forgot one of them, but then there are Buddhas also. So these samsaric worlds, which really means our minds, we're talking about the mind the whole time. If you have different karmic imprints in your mind, it affects what happens after you die, and it affects what happens where you will be born after you die, where you will be born again. This is like basic Buddhism, how samsara works. But depending on the state of your mind, it also depends what happens in between those births and deaths. So what Buddhahood means, it means the continuous clarity of mind, continuously being nowhere else than home, having clear mind all the time. And that having a clear mind, abiding as awareness itself, that's Zazen. So Zen Buddhism, it emphasizes, like we also do, we do sitting practice quite a bit, even though Zen Buddhists sit a lot more. They emphasize this sitting, but Zazen or Ati Yoga is not sitting. Sitting posture is just a circumstance where you can get a hang of it, learn it, when you can get it. How vast and wide the unobstructed sky of Samadhi, how bright and clear the perfect moonlight of the fourfold wisdom. At this moment, what more need we seek? As the eternal tranquility of truth reveals itself to us, this very place is the land of lotuses, and this very body is the body of the Buddha. How vast and wide the unobstructed sky of Samadhi. How bright and clear the perfect moonlight. So, very descriptive, these lines. Vast and wide, unobstructed sky. That's how Ati Yoga feels like, doesn't it? When there is recognition of awareness itself, and here seeking has ceased. There is no seeking outwards, no external seeking. All this chasing is come to stop. And when it stopped, vast, wide, unobstructed sky. Bright and clear, perfect moonlight. That's a good description. Bright and clear, perfect moonlight. Like when we have, especially here in the northern hemisphere, when we have full moon night in the winter, it's cold, and moonlight has this quality to it. It's like you all have seen it, you all have felt it. Bright and clear, perfect moonlight of wisdom. At this moment, what more need we seek? As the eternal tranquility of truth reveals itself to us, this very place is the land of lotuses, and this very body is the body of the fully awakened one, Buddha. So it really is that simple. And having said that, it's that simple, but it's not always easy, right? But the very first line, all sentient beings are essentially Buddhas. This is interesting. I always, when I talk or write, I usually only or have the point of view, perspective of speaking about different things, practices, experiences in the context of our own experience, in the context of our mind. So this Hakuin's first line, that all sentient beings are essentially Buddhas, yes, all beings, beings external to us, there is no being that doesn't have this Buddha nature. All beings exist without exception in this Buddha nature, in this clear, pure awareness. But this is also so regarding the elements of our own mind. Like we all have experienced stress in our life, being stressed out, having a lot of thoughts going around, being emotionally disturbed, having strong emotions, anger, anxiety, or something more sticky like depression, stuff like this. But he says that, and this is like a very common Buddhist teaching, all sentient beings are essentially Buddhas. So Machik Labdron often talks about demons and the inner demons. You know, she says that hate is a demon, anger is a demon, depression is a demon, greed is a demon. That these elements of our mind are demons, and all these elements can be said to be sentient beings because they are energies like beings, like entities, entity-like beings that kind of have compulsory behavior. Like the being of anger, the demon of anger, it just doesn't know anything else except to be angry, right? So when there's a situation for that being to come up and do its thing, it can only deliver compulsory anger. And we all know how this happens in our everyday life, when either being alone or in connection with other people you have reactions, and all these sentient beings come up and we think about them, we speak them out, we experience them, right? All sentient beings are essentially Buddhas. So this is really like a basic fact of Vipassana practice. Vipassana means seeing clearly, and awakening is a moment of seeing clearly that our I-ness doesn't have any solid, permanent entity to it. There's no such entity as me or I. And we realize that, okay, that's nice, that's a relief, that it's just a nominal value from that point onwards. It's just a me-ness, I-ness. Yes, you can talk about it, you can think about it, but it doesn't, because the entityness of it is gone, it doesn't bring the, even if you are in a relative circumstance, having a conversation or an argument or whatever situation with others, it doesn't bring the narrow-mindedness, this stuckness, this stuffiness anymore. And the same thing regarding all these sentient beings within our body-mind, regarding all thoughts, emotions, subtle energies caused by the sense of self. All these sentient beings are essentially Buddhas. The awakened nature and its manifestation itself. And that's a huge relief too. But it doesn't have to be the all sentient beings at once. We're talking about human beings. We are an organic beings. We are living beings. We are not machines, right? So it's a process. We can have the insight of awakening, or we have it, and then we have other insights relating to other thoughts, emotions, it's a process. We cannot become Buddhas in an irreversible way, in one snap of fingers, in one flash. It is often mentioned that there are these kinds of practitioners who can become Buddhas in an instant, but I think it's only has been added to different theories only because not because of some actual reality, but just as an option for some reason. But I'm absolutely sure that there has been no Buddha in the history of the universe who has become a Buddha in one moment, being a deluded, self-deluded being now, and then attaining full Buddhahood in one blow a second later. No way, I don't think it's possible, because the body and the nervous system couldn't take it. It's just such a big blow. But, for us ordinary men and women, ordinary practitioners, it's a process. Insight by insight, practice by practice. Practicing today, practicing tomorrow, the day after, this week, next week, the following week, this year, next year, and there is a change. Right? And eventually, if we are lucky, if we are very fortunate to have the correct circumstances for attaining Buddhahood in this life, I think that it's possible. It should be. It doesn't make sense that it's not possible to attain Buddhahood in this very body, in this very life. But you do need to have circumstances for it. You do need to know what you're doing, and you do need to have techniques, technologies, knowledge related to them, and sufficient guidance in that practice to be able to attain this Buddhahood that is our own natural state. So we're talking about, when we talk about attaining Buddhahood in this life, it means that we're able to shed off all this extra baggage. That we're able to realize and understand that these mind elements, these sentient beings, are not what they seem to be. I'm talking about growing and maturing in the realization of emptiness or selflessness. It's a wonderful pointer that Hakuin, he talks about this seeking and how stupid, futile attempt it is to seek, because you will not find. Why? Because it's always the I, me, that illusional entity that initiates seeking. So he's giving an invaluable pointer here. This not knowing how close the truth is, we seek it far away. What a pity. Don't be fools, don't seek, because it's futile. So we have this very deeply rooted tendency to seek. Our eyes are looking outwards. Right? Our eyeballs attached to our head are looking outwards. They are not, our pupils are not looking inwards. Right? So, because on the ears, they're also listening to sounds outwards, not listening to sound inwards. And when you realize this, that God damn it, it's so simple, I just have to stop this seeking tendency in my senses. And when you stop it, it's so obvious, And so this is what Hakuin says about this seeking. At this moment, what more need we seek? When we are here, present at this moment, what more need we seek? We don't need to seek anything, because we have arrived. Or to put it precisely, arrival has happened. I don't arrive. I cannot be present. We cannot be present. Because this presence, Zazen, Ati Yoga, is entityless. It is only when the seeking caused by me, when it stops, dissolves, then finding happens, arrival happens. So this is very important to understand that yes, we do practices, but we have the view, the conceptual understanding that we are not in location A, doing these practices along the way, working really hard to get to destination B. We are already in that destination. Yes, there is a process, there is a path, this transformation that takes place starting from start A, doing practices and ending up in B. This is one way of understanding it, but this shouldn't be the only way. The correct understanding is that we have the home, the goal, the finish, like the finish line, like in running competition, there is start and finish. The finish is already here, right now. And we only do practice to shed off this extra baggage, to clarify our mind. Thank you very much. Let's sit 2 minutes and then have coffee and tea.